Welcome to another episode of We Don't Color on the Dog. We got with the state representative, Alex Andrade. Alex, thank you for coming on today.
Hey, Rick, thanks for having me.
Great. A lot of consternation and confusion over where do we go after the appellate court ruling that made open carry possible. We had Sheriff Chip Simmons on recently talking about uh, the areas, the restrictions under the concealed carry don't necessarily apply anymore. And it's really going to be put on you and the legislature to help sort out the inconsistencies. So, how do you see this unfolding?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, while it's a big deal to do away with the one statute that said there was a blanket restriction on public carrying of firearms within the state, I don't see this as like an earth-shattering shift here for Florida. The vast majority of states, I think there's only a small handful, maybe 5 states, don't have open carry right now. So, from my perspective, I think the folks that are most affected by this are firearms enthusiasts, people with concealed carry license who also like to wear tight jeans or don't like to wear jackets, because now they can carry their firearms more comfortably. With regard to the how our statutes are set up, there's a couple different statutes that come into play. A lot of our statutes do relate directly to the concealed carrying of firearms, just because that was the only permitted method of carrying firearms before this appellate court ruling. So there might be some language cleanup that's required. As far as the general understanding right now, it's probably a good rule of thumb for folks to say, if I'm prohibited from carrying concealed in X area, like a place that with over 50% of all sales relates to alcohol, I probably shouldn't carry openly either, just because I think that there's an argument to say that just because a firearm is being openly carried, it doesn't exempt you from the prohibition on carrying concealed in that same environment.
Yeah, we've got under concealed carry about, I think, 15 restrictions or prohibitions. Of course, it includes schools, it includes, government meetings, airport, well, anywhere that it's federally excluded, it's also excluded. And I think people need to remember that too. Are there any of those restrictions that are currently, I think it's the 12A exemptions from, or any of those that you think deserve some reconsideration?
Well, I mean, I'm a student of like the history of some of these gun regulations. And if you remember, well, many might not, but Ronald Reagan, when he was the governor in California, some of their gun regulations related to open carrying and concealed carrying and regulations on where you can carry related directly in response to the Black Panther movement when they were openly carrying in the state house in California. I think that some of that restriction of firearms, you can tie a direct link to that to some fears and some racial division even. In this case, like I'm comfortable with the open carrying of firearms, like in the state capitol at committee meetings, but right now there's the prohibition on you can't carry in a official state committee meeting or on the House floor openly. I mean, I think there's opportunities to address it in on items that aren't federally preempted already. But again, I mean, I'm happy about this ruling. I think this ruling is common sense. It goes in line with my understanding of the Second Amendment. I think the only real concern is going to be for law enforcement what they can and can't enforce. And so, like, so long as we're providing enough clarification for law enforcement for them to do their jobs effectively and be comfortable doing their jobs, I'd be hesitant to do anything that would remotely expand restrictions on the carrying and use of firearms.
Well, and I also like to always point out to, the people that watch this podcast is that there's still restrictions against threatening someone with a gun. Like the sheriff talked about, you can have it in a holster, but if you pull it, uncap it out of the holster and start waving it around, you're going to have a problem with law enforcement.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's a vast chasm for me between the carrying of a firearm and the brandishing of a firearm.
Right, right.
The carrying of a firearm, that's a constitutional right that I want to promote and protect and, encourage. The brandishing of a firearm, however, I mean, no, there's no circumstance unless you are confident that you are in imminent, threat of harm to yourself or someone else, like actual imminent threat of severe bodily injury, that firearm better stay in its holster. I mean, don't be foolish. Firearms are not supposed to be used to get an upper hand in an argument. I mean, these are serious weapons that can cause significant damage. You need to treat them with the respect that they deserve.
Thanks for watching, and to keep up with what's going on, be sure and subscribe. Just click on the little dog to the right and click the subscribe button. You can also like this video and click on the bell, which will notify you of new content. This really helps the channel grow. We appreciate you.